My husband and his white moonlight were in a car accident. Fuel was leaking, and the car could explode at any moment. Flames licked the car windows, and Adrian had to immediately rescue one of them, leaving the other to fate. He chose to save his white moonlight. I was nearly suffocated by the thick smoke, staring at him in disbelief. Adrian, I am your wife. Adrian's handsome face was full of struggle, but his actions were without hesitation. Bella, I owe Vivian a leg, I cannot let anything happen to her again. He paused, his voice hoarse. Don't be afraid, even if scars are left on your face. I won't despise you. These words were like a poisoned ice cone, ruthlessly piercing Bella's heart. But I don't owe her anything. I roared with all my strength. Adrian, if you take her away today, we are done. Adrian's eyes were red, yet he still horizontally carried the unconscious Vivian. Adrian, think carefully. A passerby anxiously shouted, the car is about to explode. At the moment the car door was engulfed by flames, Bella's world plunged into a sea of fire. The flames licked her arm, and the burning pain spread instantly. They all say Adrian loves his wife as his life. In a daze, she seemed to hear someone discussing, it seems the rumors are all false. I struggled desperately, tears and sweat mixing together. Just as she was losing consciousness to the high temperature and thick smoke, firefighters finally arrived, smashing the car window with a windowbreaker. There's still someone inside. Hurry! A piercing explosion sounded behind. I was lifted by a solid arm, and the familiar sandalwood scent instantly enveloped her. Bella, it's okay now, it's okay. Adrian's voice trembled uncontrollably. I handed Vivian to others and came back. I won't let anything happen to you. Bella was in excruciating pain all over, but her heart was icy cold. Even if he came back, what did it matter? At the critical moment of life and death, he had unhesitatingly abandoned her. We are done. After saying this, she completely lost consciousness. When she woke up again, she saw the stark white ceiling of the hospital. Bella wanted to lift her hand but found it tightly gripped. Awake? Adrian immediately leaned over, his chin covered in blue stubble. Does it hurt? Thirsty? I had Auntie stew your favorite pigeon soup. Adrian. I interrupted him. When you left holding Vivian, what did I say? Do you remember? Adrian's tall body suddenly stiffened. I want a divorce. My voice was eerily calm. You just woke up, don't overthink. I'll get the soup for you first. Adrian awkwardly avoided her gaze and fled in panic, nearly bumping into the ward door. I stared at the tightly closed door, suddenly recalling 3 years ago. At that time, during the early stages of his entrepreneurship, he would socialize until midnight but was still willing to cross the entire city just to buy her the ice cream she wanted. Bella, open your mouth. He had gently fed her with a spoon like that, his eyes full of indulgence. Eat slowly, don't chill your stomach. But now, he didn't even have the courage to face her. Enduring the severe pain, I propped myself up, picked up my phone, and began searching for divorce lawyers' contact information. In fact, she and Adrian had once loved each other deeply to the core. At that time, his favoritism toward her envied others. Even when Vivian moved into his home using her leg injury as an excuse, he would coldly say in front of everyone, Vivian, please remember, this is my home, and more importantly, it's the home of me and my wife, mind your boundaries. He never concealed his love for her. When Vivian deliberately fell wanting him to help her up, he would immediately step back and then turn to message Bella, wife, I almost got scammed just now, I need your kiss to feel better. But everything changed after that charity gala. Vivian, to protect him, was hit by the out-of-control stage backdrop, and her leg, which already had an old injury, was completely disabled. From that day on, everything changed. Vivian became completely disabled because of me. This was the first time he cancelled their wedding anniversary trip for Vivian. She's emotionally broken, I have to accompany her. Vivian is scared being home alone. This was the first time he left her sickbed for Vivian. I'll have a caregiver take care of you. Vivian. Such words, time and again. Bella could understand his guilt, but when this guilt overrode their marriage, even her life, she really couldn't hold on anymore. Just as she had discussed the details of the divorce agreement with the lawyer, the phone on the bedside rang. It was from Adrian's childhood friend. As soon as the call connected, an anxious voice came from the other end, "Sister-in-law. Come quickly and persuade him. Brother Adrian has been kneeling in the heavy rain all night to apologize to you. He has a high fever of 40 degrees and still refuses to get up. He says if you don't forgive him, he won't live." I tugged at the corner of my mouth, revealing a sarcastic smile. Adrian was always like this. Every time he hurt her for Vivian, he would use this self-abusive way to beg for forgiveness. Just like last time, he forgot her birthday to accompany Vivian, then immediately bought $1 million pink diamond to apologize. Just like the time before that, he made her suffer public grievance to appease Vivian, then bought an island to compensate her. And now, it was kneeling in the rain. Did he think that with a body full of illness and pain, he could offset the fact that he abandoned her in the fire? Did he think that as long as he was painful enough, she would definitely soften? But this time I didn't want it anymore. Holding the phone, I changed clothes and walked out of the ward. In the garden downstairs of the hospital, Adrian, wearing a thin shirt, was kneeling straight in the pouring rain, his lips purple, his face pale as paper. Seeing Bella appear, his dim eyes instantly burst with light. "Bella." He struggled to stand up but weakly swayed. "Forgive me, okay? I've explained the fire incident. I would never really let anything happen to you. In my heart, there's only you. I can't live without you." I walked step by step to him, my gaze falling on a lipstick mark on his shirt collar. "You say there's only me in your heart," she chuckled lightly, "then what is this?" Adrian's face instantly turned pale. "It's Vivian. She said she's never worn lipstick and wanted me to see if it looked good. She saved me, I couldn't refuse." He panicked and pulled out a Swiss Army knife from his pocket. "Don't be angry, I'll scrape the skin off right now." Under everyone's horrified gaze, the blade unhesitatingly slashed toward his neck, blood mixed with rainwater flowing down, instantly staining the white collar red. "Brother Adrian." His childhood friends rushed up to seize the knife. "You're crazy." The garden immediately descended into chaos. Some went to find doctors, some glared at Bella with red eyes. "Sister-in-law, we all see how Brother Adrian treats you. Last year when you had gastroenteritis, he pushed aside $1 billion contract and personally cooked porridge for you for half a month. Last month, you casually said you wanted to see the aurora, and without blinking, he chartered a private plane to take you to Finland. Can't you forgive him just once? It's not a big deal. Do you have to push him to the point where he doesn't even want his life?" "Not a big deal? Making a fuss?" I laughed out loud, laughing until tears flowed. Adrian pushed away the crowd, staggering on his knees to her feet. Rainwater washed over the wound on his neck, but he seemed to feel no pain, just humbly looking up at her. "Bella, please, forgive me." Looking at this man she had once loved to the marrow, her heart was left with endless fatigue. "Okay." She took a deep breath. "I can forgive you." Hope instantly lit up in Adrian's eyes. "I have a fund under my name." She took out a document from her bag. "As long as you transfer this portion of assets to me, I'll forgive you." Without thinking, he immediately took the document to sign, but his phone rang inopportunely. "Adrian." Vivian's voice came with a sob. "My leg hurts so much, it seems cracked again, come quickly." Adrian's expression changed. Without even looking at the content, he hastily signed his name at the end of the document. After signing, he looked at me with eyes full of plea. "Go," I said calmly. He felt relieved as if granted amnesty, and when standing up, he still uneasily confirmed, "Bella, are you really not angry?" I shook my head, my voice flat. "Not angry." Only then was he completely at ease, hurriedly leaving with a group of brothers. Watching their receding figures, I slowly opened the document in my hand. The divorce agreement came into view prominently. At the signature place was the name he had just written himself. She gently stroked the still wet ink, suddenly smiling. "Adrian, congratulations, this time, you personally pushed me out of your world. Miss Bella, congratulations, you're free." On the other end of the phone, Lawyer Leon's voice carried a hint of relieved laughter. For the subsequent property division and handover, I will follow up throughout, ensuring that half of Adrian's marital property is transferred to your name without error in the shortest time. Holding the divorce agreement signed with Adrian's name, my fingertips were cold. Thank you, Lawyer Leon. You're welcome, it's what I should do. Lawyer Leon paused and said, however, Miss Bella, there's one thing I must remind you. This agreement was signed when Adrian was not clear-minded and did not read the terms clearly. If he realizes, he can completely sue and claim the agreement invalid. I chuckled lightly. He won't. Why? Because Adrian is a person who values face more than life. Admitting that he was tricked into signing by his ex-wife like a monkey? He can't afford to lose that face. After hanging up, the ward was eerily quiet. Looking out the window, the rain had stopped, clouds dispersed, revealing a corner of washed blue sky. Just like my current mood. No pleasure of revenge, no ecstasy of liberation, only a vast calm. The man who once said he would shelter me from wind and rain personally gave me the storm of my life. And now, the rain has stopped. It's time for me to go. I pulled out the needle from the back of my hand, changed into my own clothes. The burned arm sent waves of stinging pain, but I was oblivious. Walking out of the ward, the doorway was empty. Presumably, Adrian and his brothers were at this moment surrounding Vivian's sickbed, performing a play of deep affection and loyalty. That's fine. I went downstairs to the hospital, hailed a taxi. To Yunding Villa. That was my and Adrian's marital home. From today, it was also my house. The car drove through the most prosperous business district in the city center, where a giant screen billboard was looping Adrian's personal interview. Adrian, everyone knows you love your wife as your life. Can you share your secret to keeping love fresh? The host smiled with full envy. The man on the screen, in suit and leather shoes, handsome and noble, had gentleness in his brows and eyes that I was once extremely familiar with. Facing the camera, he slowly spoke, the secret is to always put my wife's needs first. No matter when or where, she is always my first choice. The driver glanced at me through the rearview mirror, sighing enviously, young lady, your husband is so handsome, so rich and devoted, you're really blessed. I tugged at the corner of my mouth without speaking. Yes. I once thought I was the happiest woman in the world. Until that fire burned all thoughts into a joke. The car soon arrived at Yunding Villa. I pushed open the familiar carved door. In the living room, the nanny Margaret was wiping an antique vase. Seeing me, her face showed no concern but instead a trace of disdain. Madam, why did you come back alone? Where is Sir? Shouldn't he be accompanying you in the hospital? How could he leave an injured person like you? Her words sounded caring, but her eyes looked like she was seeing a pitiful woman abandoned by her husband. I couldn't be bothered with her and went straight upstairs. Have my things been packed? Margaret followed behind me, her tone unkind. Sir instructed that no one is to touch your things. He said, when your anger subsides, he will personally come to pick you up home. I stopped, turned back to look at her. Margaret, how many years have you been in this house? She was stunned, then straightened her chest. Since Sir graduated from university, I've been taking care of him, almost 10 years. 10 years. I nodded, then your retirement savings should be substantial. Margaret's face changed instantly. Madam, what do you mean? It means, I walked to the master bedroom door, pushed it open, looking at the walk-in closet completely belonging to me inside. From today, you're fired. Now, immediately, take your things and get out of my house. On what grounds do you fire me? Margaret's voice instantly rose, her wrinkled face shaking with anger. I'm Sir's person. What right do you have to drive me away? As if not hearing her clamor, I walked straight into the walk-in closet. My clothes, bags, and jewelry were all neatly placed. But in the corner, there was an extra suitcase that didn't belong here. I walked over and opened it. Inside were several women's clothes, pajamas, dresses, even intimate underwear. The style was Vivian's favorite White Lotus type. I picked up a pink lace nightgown, lightly sniffed it. It had the scent of the sandalwood perfume Adrian commonly used. My heart felt like it was pricked by needles, densely painful. So, without my knowledge, they had already become intimate to this extent. What is this? I held the nightgown and turned to ask Margaret. Margaret's eyes dodged for a moment, then became righteous again. It's Miss Vivian's. Her legs are inconvenient, sir, let her stay here temporarily. Is there a problem? Miss Vivian even broke her leg for sir, it's only right for sir to take care of her. As madam, instead of being magnanimous, you're nitpicking here. What does that look like? Slap. A crisp slap landed hard on Margaret's face. She covered her face, looking at me in disbelief. You dare hit me? Hit you? I approached her step by step, the chill in my eyes almost freezing her. Privately letting an outsider live in the owner's home, and daring to point fingers at the owner, what are you? I tell you, today not only you, but all the servants in this house who side with outsiders must get out. And these dirty things, I threw the nightgown in my hand and the entire suitcase at her feet, take them all away, don't dirty my place. Margaret trembled with anger but didn't dare say another word. She could lord it over in this house only because of Adrian's indulgence. But she forgot that I, Bella, was never a soft persimmon to be pinched at will. At this moment, my phone rang. It was Adrian. I pressed answer and put it on speaker. From the other end came his suppressed angry, hoarse voice. Bella, what do you mean? Divorce agreement? You dare scheme against me? I laughed. Adrian, you signed it yourself, how can it be called scheming you? He seemed choked for a moment, followed by a more furious roar. I don't care. That agreement doesn't count. I don't agree to divorce. Bella, stay at home for me, don't go anywhere. I'm coming back immediately. After saying that, he hung up with a bang. Margaret's eyes lit up instantly. She seemed to see a savior, her back straightening again. Madam, you heard? Sir is coming back soon. I advise you to quit while you're ahead, don't make things too ugly. Sir has you in his heart, don't be arrogant because of favoritism, and end up pushing Sir completely to Miss Vivian, you'll regret it. Looking at her smug villain face, I suddenly found it somewhat amusing. You seem to have forgotten, I spoke leisurely, even if Adrian comes back, it doesn't change one fact. That is, you have been fired. Security. I picked up the intercom phone, throw this woman out for me. Bella. You dare. Margaret's screams echoed in the spacious villa. Two tall security guards quickly rushed up, one on each side holding her arms. Auntie Margaret, sorry. Margaret was still struggling desperately, cursing foully. You vicious woman. Sir won't let you go. You wait. When Sir comes back, he'll make you kneel and apologize to me. I watched coldly as she was dragged away, like watching a lousy farce. Soon, the villa returned to quiet. I had the remaining servants thoroughly clean and disinfect the master bedroom, throwing away all things not belonging to me. After doing all this, I took a hot bath, changed into comfortable silk pajamas, sat on the living room sofa, and poured myself a glass of red wine. Outside the floor-to-ceiling window, night fell, the city's neon lights twinkling. In less than half an hour, a piercing brake sound came from outside the villa door. Immediately after, it was Adrian and his group of brothers shouting. Bella! Open the door! Come out! Sister-in-law! Stop making trouble! Brother Adrian is almost going crazy. Can't we talk nicely? Do we have to go to divorce? I swirled the red wine in the glass, ignoring them. The doorbell was pressed deafeningly, accompanied by bang 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 door smashing sounds. Bella! If you don't open the door, I'll smash it. Adrian's voice was full of impatience and threat. I picked up my phone and dialed the property security center. Hello, is this Shanding Security? Building A, number 1, someone is causing trouble outside the door, seriously affecting my normal life, please come handle it. In less than 5 minutes, several security guards arrived at the scene. "Mr. Adrian, please calm down. If you continue like this, we can only call the police. Get lost. This is my own home." Adrian completely lost his reason and started shoving the security guards. His group of brothers were also fanning the flames on the side. "Do you know who he is? Dare to block him? I think you don't want to work anymore." The scene was once very chaotic. I pulled open a slit in the curtain, indifferently watching the group of men making fools of themselves outside. This was the man I once loved, and his brothers I once thought could be friends. How ridiculous. Ultimately, the security called the police. The arrival of the police finally temporarily quelled this farce. Adrian was taken away by the police for education. Before leaving, through the car window, he looked at me on the second floor of the villa with an extremely complex gaze. There was anger, confusion, and a trace of hurt. His brothers also cast accusing glances at me. "Sister-in-law, you're too heartless. Brother Adrian loves you so much, how can you treat him like this?" I closed the curtain, isolating those voices outside. On my phone, Adrian's childhood friend Eric sent me a Facebook message. "Sister-in-law, I know the fire incident was brother Adrian's fault, but he's already atoning with his life. He can't live without you, forgive him this time. He was so good to you before, we all saw it. 3 years ago on your birthday, he said he wanted to give you a surprise, insisted on pulling us to stay up all night building a Disney castle with Lego for you, his fingers were all blistered. He said he wanted to personally create a fairy tale world for you. Sister-in-law, that man willing to build dreams for you, is he really not worth you turning back to look?" Looking at those words, my heart felt like it was fiercely tugged by something. Yes, he was once that good. Good enough to make me think we would really be happy ever after like in fairy tales. But fairy tales are ultimately fake. I took a deep breath and replied to him. "Eric, tell Adrian, if he wants me to forgive him, he can. Have him tell me personally, in full detail without missing a word, how Vivian's leg was broken for him. What do you mean?" Eric's call came immediately, his tone full of confusion. "Sister-in-law, wasn't Sister Vivian's leg broken by the stage backdrop to save brother Adrian? Everyone in the circle knows this." I chuckled lightly, the laughter carrying endless sarcasm. "Is that so? Then do you know that the key screws on that so-called out-of-control backdrop were loosened in advance by someone?" The other end of the phone instantly fell into dead silence. After a long while, Eric found his voice, dryly asking, "Sister-in-law, is what you said true? Whether I lied to you or not, let Adrian check himself, won't he know? Check the surveillance, check all the staff that night, especially the prop master responsible for building the stage." After saying that, I hung up. I knew these words were like a heavy bomb exploding among Adrian and his brothers. They might doubt, might not believe. But once the seed of doubt is planted, it will crazily take root and sprout. Especially for someone as suspicious as Adrian. Sure enough, early the next morning, I received a call from lawyer Leon. "Miss Bella, Adrian's side has withdrawn the lawsuit. He says he agrees to the divorce." This result was within my expectations. Additionally, lawyer Leon's tone became somewhat subtle. He entrusted me to convey a message to you. He says, "Sorry." Sorry? What cheap 3 words. If sorry was useful, what about the burning and suffocation I endured in that fire? When I was trapped in the car, watching him leave holding another woman, what about that despair of being abandoned by the whole world? "Lawyer Leon, please tell him." My voice was calm without waves. I received his apology. But forgiveness? Next life. After hanging up, I began handling company matters. After marrying Adrian, I became a full-time housewife. But under my name, there was still a small investment company left to me by my parents. These years, although I didn't manage it personally, I always hired professional managers to handle it, and the company operated quite well. Now, I could finally put all my energy into my own career. I was looking at the company's recent financial reports when an unfamiliar number called. I casually answered. Is this Bella? On the other end was a sharp voice with a sob. It was Vivian. It's me, what's up? Bella. You bitch. What exactly did you say to Adrian? Why does he want to break up with me? He even wants to send me abroad. On what grounds? Her voice was hysterical, as if she had suffered immense grievance. I shifted to a comfortable position, leaning on the sofa. Didn't he tell you why? Then how about I tell you? Vivian, Adrian already knows the truth about the charity gala 3 years ago. On the other end, Vivian's crying abruptly stopped, replaced by dead silence. I could imagine her pale face and terrified eyes at this moment. This feeling was really nice. You're talking nonsense. She finally squeezed out a few words, her voice trembling uncontrollably. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't know? I laughed. No problem, I think the police would be happy to help you recall. Intentional injury crime, plus these years of extortion, Miss Vivian, guess if your noble leg is enough for you to stay in prison for 10 or 8 years? No. You can't call the police. Vivian completely panicked, her voice carrying plea. Bella, I beg you, let me go. For the sake that I once truly loved Adrian. Truly loved? I seem to hear the biggest joke. Your love is designing an accident to make him guilty for life, then like a vampire, sucking blood from him? Vivian, don't insult the word love, you don't deserve it. She was blocked speechless by me. Bella, what exactly do you want? Her voice carried some resentment. Very simple. I spoke leisurely, spit out everything you've taken from Adrian these years, whether money, houses, cars, jewelry, all intact. Not a cent less. You're dreaming. She screamed, those were all willingly given by brother Adrian. Why should I return them to you? Because those are all marital community property of me and Adrian. Every cent you took has half mine. I don't like my things being touched by others. So, I decide to take them all back. Vivian, I give you 3 days. After 3 days, if I don't see the money, what you'll receive is the court subpoena and the police station's arrest warrant. Choose yourself. After saying that, I gave her no chance to speak and directly hung up. I knew she would compromise. Compared to those external things, freedom was more important to her. The next 2 days were calm. I wholeheartedly devoted myself to work, familiarizing with company business, meeting with the team, formulating new development plans. That feeling of regaining control of my life made me feel immensely fulfilled and satisfied. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, lawyer Leon called me. Miss Bella, Vivian's side has transferred all the assets. A total of $320 million cash, plus a large apartment in the city center, 2 sports cars, and a batch of jewelry. All assets have been transferred to your name. Looking at the numbers on the computer screen, the corners of my mouth slightly raised. Very good. This sum was far more than I imagined. It seems these years, Adrian really invested heavily in her. But now, it's all mine. By the way, Miss Bella, lawyer Leon said again, Adrian's mother, Grace, met with me this afternoon. She wants to talk to you. Grace? The woman who disliked me from the first day I married into the Gu family. What good could come from her seeking me? What did she say? She said she knows you've been wronged, but the Gu family can't do without you as daughter-in-law. She hopes you can give Adrian another chance. As long as you're willing to remarry, she's willing to transfer 10% of Gu Group shares under her name to you as compensation. 10% shares? That's assets worth nearly $10 billion. This always arrogant Grace really invested heavily to make me turn back. Unfortunately. Lawyer Leon, please decline for me. Just say, in my Bella's Life dictionary, there are no words turn back. Additionally, please tell her. Her son and his white moonlight's mess, I don't want to manage, too lazy to manage. But if they dare provoke me again. I don't mind making the entire Gu family bury with them. My tough attitude obviously angered Grace. That evening, she personally came to my company downstairs. At that time, I had just finished a video conference and was preparing to leave work. A black Rolls-Royce Phantom arrogantly stopped at the company entrance, blocking my way. The window rolled down, revealing Grace's well-maintained but full of arrogance face. "Bella, get in," she said in a commanding tone. As if not seeing her, I walked straight to my own car. "Stop." Grace obviously didn't expect I dared ignore her, angry to the point her voice changed. She pushed open the door, stepped in high heels, and in a few steps blocked me. "I told you to get in, didn't you hear?" I raised my eyes to look at her, gaze calm. "Grace, I think there's nothing to talk about between us. Whether there's something to talk or not, it's not up to you." She snorted coldly, took out a check from her bag, and threw it in front of me. "This is 100 million, leave my son." Looking at that light check, I found it somewhat amusing. "Grace, did you get something wrong? A few days ago, you were begging me to remarry, willing to give me 10 billion shares. How today, it became using 100 million to dismiss me?" Grace's face alternated between green and white. "Times change." She gritted her teeth. "Before, I thought Adrian still had feelings for you. But now it seems, I overestimated you. Vivian has told me everything, it's you stirring trouble in between, and tricking away the compensation Adrian gave Vivian. Bella, I really underestimated you before, didn't expect you to be so scheming, so vicious." I finally understood. Vivian was the villain complaining first, running to Grace to sell misery. Indeed, she knew well that Grace never liked me, but favored Vivian with clean background and who saved her son. "So?" I crossed my arms, looking at her leisurely. "Grace came today to seek justice for your prospective daughter-in-law?" "That's right." Grace raised her chin. "You must return all the money you tricked from Vivian. Then, immediately disappear from Adrian's world. Never appear before him again. If I say no? Then don't blame me for being impolite." A trace of ruthlessness flashed in Grace's eyes. "I have plenty of ways to make you unable to stay in a city." "Is that so?" I laughed. "For example, having your son use connections to ruin my company? Or having your maternal family use power to pin some baseless crime on me? Grace, don't you think these wealthy family intrigue plots are too cliché?" My words obviously hit her sore spot. Her face became extremely ugly. "Bella, don't be smug. Do you really think, without Adrian, you can still be as glorious as now? Without the Gu family tree, you're nothing." "Is that so?" I took out my phone from the bag, opened a recording, and pressed play. "Mom, don't interfere in me and Bella's matters. It's me who wronged her, I deserve it. With Vivian, I've done my utmost, her matters have nothing to do with me anymore. Also, don't go find Bella anymore, I don't want her disturbed again." In the recording was Adrian's tired but resolute voice. Grace's face instantly turned pale. When was this?" "Just half an hour before you came." I put away the phone, looking at her lost soul appearance, no ripple in my heart. "Grace, it seems your son is not as obedient as you imagined. Instead of having time to threaten me here, better go back and think how to rein in your runaway horse. Don't end up not getting the daughter-in-law and losing the son too." After saying that, I no longer looked at her, turned, got in my car, and drove away. In the Rolls-Royce, Grace trembled with anger. She couldn't figure out why her son, always obedient to her, would openly oppose her for a Bella this time. She immediately dialed Adrian's phone. "Adrian. You've grown capable, huh? Dare to hang up on me, and dare to challenge me for that woman." On the other end, Adrian's voice was full of fatigue. "Mom," I said, "this is my own matter, don't interfere." "Your matter?" "Your matter is being bewitched by that vixen, not even wanting your own mother. Do you know how she spoke to me just now? She simply—" "I heard how she spoke to you." Adrian interrupted her. "Mom, I told her to say that." "What?" Grace was struck as by lightning. I said, I told Bella to say that. Adrian's voice carried a trace of determination. I owe her too much. In this life, I can't repay. The only thing I can do is stay far away, no longer disturb her. So, Mom, I beg you, don't disturb her anymore. Just for me. After saying that, Adrian hung up again. Listening to the busy tone, Grace was completely stunned. She suddenly realized, this time, she was really going to lose this son. And all this was because of that woman called Bella. An unprecedented hatred crazily grew in her heart. I didn't know about this call between the Goo mother and son. Back home, I played some soothing music for myself, preparing to enjoy a quiet evening. However, the doorbell rang inopportunely. I looked through the peephole. Standing at the door was surprisingly Eric. Adrian's best brother. What was he doing here? I hesitated but still opened the door. Sister-in-law. Eric's expression looked somewhat awkward and guilty. So late, didn't disturb you? What's up? I had no intention of inviting him in. That. Eric scratched his head. I'm here to apologize to you on behalf of brother Adrian. Before, we were wrong, we were deceived by that woman Vivian and wrongly blamed you. Sorry, sister-in-law. Saying that, he deeply bowed to me. I looked at him without speaking. Also, he took out an exquisite gift box from behind. This is what brother Adrian asked me to deliver to you. He said, this is the birthday gift he owes you. Looking at that box, it had the logo of my favorite brand. Without opening, I knew what was inside. That global limited edition Star Sky bracelet. I once saw it in a magazine and casually said to him, so beautiful. Unexpectedly, he still remembered. In my heart, some place was lightly touched by something. But, only that. Take the thing back. I said faintly, I don't need it. Sister-in-law. Eric, I interrupted him, if you're here today as a lobbyist, you can go back. Adrian and I are already over. I know. Eric's face showed a bitter smile. He didn't think to make you turn back. He just wants to do something to make up. He said, he knows he's a bastard, knows he doesn't deserve your forgiveness. He just hopes you can accept this, then forget the past, start a new life. He said, hopes you can be happy every day from now on. He said, hopes I can be happy every day from now on. How ironic. The person who once brought me all unhappiness now wishes me happiness. Looking at Eric's sincere face, I ultimately accepted the box. I accepted the thing. Tell him for me, thanks for his blessing. Also wish him to soon find his own happiness. After saying that, I closed the door. Opening the box, the Star Sky bracelet quietly lay on the velvet, dazzling. On the inside of the bracelet was engraved a line of small words. My world, for you. My world, for you. This was what he said when proposing to me. Looking at those words, my eyes suddenly felt hot. I picked up the bracelet, walked to the window, without any hesitation, forcefully threw it out. A beautiful parabola crossed the night sky, then a plop light sound. It fell into the landscape lake outside the villa. Goodbye, Adrian. Also goodbye, my foolish and ridiculous youth. I thought throwing away the bracelet meant completely bidding farewell to the past. But the next day, a city-shaking news once again tightly bound my and Adrian's names together. Goo Group President Adrian suspected marital change, drinking late at night, hurt by love. The news photo was Adrian drunk in a bar, being carried away by Eric and others. He always cared about image. This was the first time showing such a disheveled posture in public. In the comment section, all kinds of comments. Oh my. My ship CP is gone? No. Definitely that Bella making trouble. Adrian was so good to her, what more does she want? Upstairs, how do you know it's the woman's fault? What if Adrian cheated? Yes. Wasn't there a white moonlight before? Wealthy families are deep waters, who knows? Looking at those speculations, I only found it funny. At this moment, an unfamiliar local number called. "Hello, is this Miss Bella?" On the other end was a shrewd and capable male voice. "I'm a reporter from City Weekly, my name is Daniel." City Weekly, a city's most famous gossip magazine. "Reporter Daniel, what's up?" "Miss Bella, we want to do an exclusive interview with you on your and Mr. Adrian's marriage issues. Are you available?" "Not available." I directly refused. "Miss Bella, don't rush to refuse." Reporter Daniel smiled. "We know you've recently taken over the investment company left by your parents and are seeking new investment projects. Behind our weekly is a city's largest media group. We have very broad networks and resources. If you're willing to accept our interview, we can bridge for you, introduce several very capable investors to you. Moreover, we guarantee the interview content will be written completely according to your wishes, absolutely no unfavorable statements to you." This condition was indeed tempting. I just needed to open new situations for the company. If I could connect with this media group, it would undoubtedly be timely help for me. Okay. I pondered for a moment and agreed. "I have only one requirement." "You say?" "I want to see my interview on your magazine cover. And the title must be eye-catching enough." Reporter Daniel was obviously stunned, then laughed. "Miss Bella, you're really straightforward." "No problem, deal." The interview was scheduled for the next afternoon, in an elegant coffee shop. Reporter Daniel was very professional. The questions were sharp but stopped at the point, without making me uncomfortable. According to our pre-discussed script, I narrated my and Adrian's story as a cliché love tragedy of united by misunderstanding, separated by understanding. I shaped myself as an independent woman lost in love, finally awakening and deciding to devote to career. As for Adrian, I didn't say a bad word about him. I just described him as a contradictory body who values emotion and righteousness but doesn't know how to balance feelings. The entire interview process was very smooth. A week later, the latest issue of City Weekly was released. The cover was my solo photo. In the photo, I wore a sharp professional suit, delicate makeup, firm eyes, corners of mouth with a faint smile. The cover title, in the largest font, wrote a striking line, "Bella, leaving him, I lived as a better self." This was what I specifically required. I wanted to use this way to tell everyone that the man called Adrian had completely disappeared from my world. As soon as the magazine was released, it caused a huge uproar. My social account gained 1 million followers overnight. Countless female netizens flooded my comment section, hailing me as the benchmark for independent women. "Sister is so cool. You deserve to succeed in career and get rich. Leaving the wrong person to meet a better self. Sister is so right. This is what new era women should be. Live not for men, only for ourselves." My company also became famous because of this. Countless investors threw olive branches at me. My life seemed to open a brand new, golden avenue overnight. And all this was thanks to Adrian. I even somewhat wanted to say thank you to him. Thanks to his abandonment, I had the chance to rebirth. My career was smooth sailing, but Adrian's side was gloomy. That interview was like a resounding slap, fiercely slapped on the Gu family's faces. Gu Group's stock price suffered a significant impact, falling for several consecutive days. Grace was so angry she was hospitalized directly. And Adrian himself completely shut himself in, seeing no one. When Eric called me, his voice was full of worry. "Sister-in-law, go see brother Adrian. He hasn't eaten for days, just drinking alone in the apartment. I'm afraid if he continues like this, something will happen." "Whether something happens to him or not, what does it have to do with me?" My voice had no warmth. "Sister-in-law, I know you hate him, but he—" "Eric," I interrupted him, "I'm no longer your sister-in-law. In the future, please call me Miss Bella. Also, don't come to me for his matters anymore. I have no time, no interest, to care about a stranger's life or death." After saying that, I hung up. I thought my attitude was clear enough. But unexpectedly, that evening, I saw that stranger downstairs my apartment. He leaned on the car, still in that wrinkled shirt, chin full of blue stubble, looking decadent and haggard. In his hand, he held a cake box. Seeing me, his dim eyes instantly burst with a trace of light. He staggered toward me, handing the cake to me. "Bella, happy birthday." His voice was hoarsely unrecognizable. Only then did I remember, today was my birthday. In past years on this day, he always prepared various surprises for me. Taking me to islands to watch fireworks, booking the entire restaurant for my birthday, or, as Eric said, building a castle with Lego for me. But this year, he only held a seemingly cheap and ordinary cake, standing disheveled before me, saying happy birthday. How ironic. I don't need it. I bypassed him, preparing to go upstairs. But he grabbed my wrist. His hand was hot, like having a high fever. "Bella, don't go." He humbly pleaded, just accompany me to eat a piece of cake, okay? Just as the last time. Looking at his red eye rims and the undisguised pain and plea inside, my heart suddenly surged with irritation. "Adrian, what exactly do you want? Endless entanglement, is it interesting? Do you think your current half-dead appearance is acting for whom? Want to make me soften? Pity you? I tell you, impossible." My words, like knives, ruthlessly stabbed his heart. His face paled inch by inch. The hand grabbing me also slowly loosened. "Sorry." He lowered his head, his voice full of endless fatigue and despair. "I just wanted to talk to you again. I have no other meaning. I'm leaving, in the future, won't disturb you anymore." After saying that, he put the cake on the ground, turned, step by step, walked into the boundless night. His back looked so lonely, so desolate. Like a stray dog abandoned by the whole world. I stood in place, looking at that small cake box, mixed feelings in my heart. At this moment, my phone rang. It was reporter Daniel. "Bella, happy birthday," he said in a light tone. "Thanks. Bella, revealing some internal news to you. Adrian seems really done. Heard that Goo Group has big internal problems, several major shareholders united, preparing to force him down. Now, the entire Goo family is in chaos. Your move of removing the firewood from under the cauldron is really high." Holding the phone, I was stunned. Goo Group is going to change? This news completely exceeded my expectations. My original purpose was just to draw a clear line with Adrian, incidentally paving the way for my career. I never thought to really force him to a dead end. "Reporter Daniel, is this news reliable?" "Absolutely true." Reporter Daniel said confidently, "Heard the leader is Goo's second largest shareholder, Jason. He's long disliked Adrian, always wanting to replace him. This time Adrian made so many negative news, gave him a perfect opportunity. Heard he's already united several other shareholders, preparing to directly impeach Adrian at tomorrow's board meeting. In Adrian's current state, he's powerless to turn the tide. After tomorrow, a city may change." After hanging up, my heart couldn't calm for a long time. I walked to the window, looking at the cake box left by Adrian downstairs. Suddenly felt it somewhat glaring. I admit, I hate him. Hate his ruthlessness in the fire, hate his repeated betrayals and hurts. But, I also once sincerely loved him. Loved that boy who would cross the city late at night just to buy me ice cream. Loved that man who would look at me with indulgent eyes, saying to build a fairy tale world for me. I hope he gets punished, hope he pays for his actions. But is this price too heavy? Heavy enough to ruin his entire life. I irritably paced in the room. In my mind, two little people were fighting crazily. One said, "He deserves it. This is self-inflicted. You must not soften." The other said, "One day couple 100 days grace, do you really want to watch him lose everything, betrayed by all?" Just as I was in internal conflict, my phone rang again. This time a completely unfamiliar number. I answered. "Hello, is this Bella?" On the other end came an old and weak voice. It was Adrian's grandmother. The only one who truly treated me well since I married into the Gu family. Grandma? My heart instantly tightened. What's wrong? Your voice doesn't sound good. Bella, Grandma's voice carried sobs. Come to the hospital quickly. Adrian, he had a car accident. Not far from your home downstairs. Doctor said, injured severely, still in rescue. My brain boom went blank. Car accident? Downstairs my home? Was it just now, after he left? I didn't even have time to change clothes, grabbed the car keys and rushed out. Raced to the hospital. The red light of the rescue room stung my eyes. Grandma and Gu family relatives were guarding outside, each face full of anxiety and sadness. Grace saw me, rushed over like crazy. Bella. You jinx. It's all your fault. If my son has any mishap, I absolutely won't let you go. She raised her hand, wanting to hit me, but was firmly stopped by Eric nearby. Auntie. Calm down. This doesn't concern sister-in-law, doesn't concern Miss Bella. How doesn't it concern her? If not for her, would Adrian become like this? Grace cried hysterically. I ignored her, just staring fixedly at the closed rescue room door. In my mind, repeatedly echoing Grandma's words. Injured severely, still in rescue. My heart felt like tightly gripped by an invisible hand, painful, unable to breathe. Only then did I discover Dot. At this moment, the rescue room door opened. A doctor in white coat came out, removed the mask, face full of fatigue. Doctor. How is my son? Grace rushed up first. Everyone surrounded, nervously looking at the doctor. The patient has escaped life danger. The doctor's words made everyone sigh in relief. But his tone turned. The patient's legs, due to severe impact, caused comminuted fractures. Although we did our best in repair surgery, but he may never stand again. Never stand again. These words, like a bolt from the blue, struck everyone's heads. Grace's eyes rolled, directly fainted. The scene immediately chaotic. I stood outside the crowd, body cold, limbs numb. Adrian was paralyzed. That once high-spirited, arrogant man would spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. This ending was more cruel than making him lose everything. 2 days later, Adrian transferred from ICU to regular ward. He woke up. But after waking, he was more heartbreaking than when asleep. He didn't speak, didn't eat, just opened empty eyes, staring fixedly at the ceiling. Like a soulless shell. Through the ward glass window, I looked at him from afar. In my heart, indescribable feeling. Go in and see him. Grandma came to my side, gently patted my hand. In his current state, he listens to no one. Perhaps only you can persuade him. I hesitated. I didn't know in what identity to face him. Ex-wife? Enemy? Or friend? Ultimately, I pushed open that door. Hearing the door open, Adrian's eyes moved, slowly turning to me. When seeing clearly it was me, his dead eyes stirred a ripple. Immediately, he turned his head away sharply, in an extremely resistant posture, facing the wall. What are you here for? His voice, hoarse and cold. To see my joke? No. I walked to his bedside, said softly. Then you've seen now, satisfied? He self-mockingly smiled. I'm now a cripple, a waste who can't even walk. Do you feel very relieved? Adrian. Looking at the back of his head, you don't have to be like this. I'm not like anything. He suddenly got agitated, turned his head, red eyes glaring fixedly at me. Go. I don't want to see you. Get out. He grabbed the water cup on the bedside table, fiercely threw it at me. I didn't dodge. The cup grazed my forehead, fell to the ground, shattered. Warm liquid flowed down my temple. It was blood. Adrian was stunned. Looking at the wound on my forehead, the madness and ferocity in his eyes instantly faded. Replaced by endless panic and regret. Bella. I didn't mean it. He wanted to reach out, but found he didn't even have strength to lift his hand. 2 lines of clear tears rolled down from his empty eyes. This was the first time I saw him cry. Not to gain sympathy, not to beg forgiveness. But a man's most helpless tears in complete despair. My heart felt like fiercely stabbed by something. Painful, almost unable to breathe. I stepped forward, took out tissue, gently wiped the tears on his face. Adrian, looking at his eyes, I said word by word, don't give up. As long as you're willing, I'll help you. Help you stand again. My words completely stunned Adrian. He looked at me incredulously, lips moving but no word out. Why? After a long time, he found his voice, hoarsely asking. Don't you hate me? Yes. I nodded, no denial. I hate you abandoning me, hate you almost letting me die in that fire. But, Adrian, I also loved you. I loved that boy willing to run the city for ice cream for me, loved that man saying to give me a fairy tale world. Although that man is dead, I don't hope even the traces of his existence disappear together. Looking at him, my gaze calm and frank. I help you, not for you, not for myself. It's for drawing a not too bad period to my dead love. When you're better, we owe nothing, each well. Adrian stared fixedly at me, emotions in eyes complex like surging sea. Shock, moved, regret, and a trace, rekindled hope. Ultimately, he slowly nodded. In the following days, I pushed away all company socials, almost spending all time in hospital. I consulted the world's best orthopedic experts, made the most detailed rehab plan for him. I accompanied him daily in rehab, even simplest leg lift repeated hundreds times. Process painful and boring. He wanted to give up several times, but under my persistence and encouragement, gritted teeth and persevered. His body improved day by day. Goo Group's crisis, with my help, was resolved. I used all my networks and resources, convinced those shareholders preparing to impeach him, stabilized the company. Grace and Goo relatives' attitude toward me changed 180 degrees. They treated me as Goo family's great benefactor, grateful to tears. Even Grace hinted several times hoping Adrian and I remarry. To this, I just smiled. Half a year later. Under everyone's witness, Adrian threw away crutches, though still limping, but finally stood again. That day, he wore a brand new suit, hair combed meticulously, back to that handsome noble Adrian. He walked to me, in front of everyone, kneeled on one knee. From pocket, took out a velvet box, opened. Inside, a dazzling diamond ring. Bella, he looked up at me, eyes full of deep affection and plea. I know, I made many unforgivable mistakes before. Thank you for giving me a rebirth chance. Now, I want to request you, give me another chance. A chance to love you again, guard you. Marry me, okay? Everyone held breath, expectantly looking at me. I looked at him, at the light in his eyes, suddenly smiled. From bag, took out a ticket. Adrian, I handed the ticket to him, this is my gift to you. He was stunned. This is, to where? Finland. Looking at him, I slowly said. Didn't you say you wanted to take me to see Aurora? No, I take you to see. But, only you alone. Because my next stop is Antarctica. What I want to see is penguins. Adrian's face instantly pale. I took back the ticket, put in my bag, turned, walked out the airport hall. Sunshine just right. I put on sunglasses, corners of mouth raised a relaxed smile. Adrian, thank you for making me understand, woman's best home is not marriage, not man. But becoming a better self. Goodbye. No, never see again. My world, from now on, vast sky and sea.